crap. That did not sit well with the moderators or much of the audience either. After all, these aren't dubbed climate change town halls, but climate crisis town halls. Is this fear-mongering on CNN's part? You bet. And the reason why we know this is because Project Veritas had one of its reporters secretly tape a conversation with CNN technical director Charles Chester. And let's just say it tells us everything you need to know about journalism morphing into activism. Our focus was to get Trump out of office, Chester explained to Veritas. Without saying it, that's what it was, right? So our next thing is going to be for climate change awareness. Do you think it's going to be just like a lot of fear for the climate? The undercover reporter asked. Yeah, fear sells. Who decides that? The head of the network, Chester replied. The head of the network at that time was Jeff Zucker, who turned a once respectable news organization into a progressive playpen that took far-left activist positions on things like the climate crisis. From Zucker's perspective, CNN wasn't going to report on the world, it was going to save it. And it's not like it would be too hard to convince his journalists to come along for the mission. They were all fully on board, either because they also believed that becoming activists for liberal causes was in their job descriptions, or for the few that didn't think the climate crisis was a top priority to the country, they simply believed in the preservation of their careers. CNN even went so far as to create the role of chief climate correspondent and handed it to Bill Weir, who has given us some rhetorical gems over the years. Here's Weir on Republicans voting against the hilariously named Inflation Reduction Act. Not a single Republican in either chamber voted for the first piece of ambitious climate legislation in U.S. history. Best case, they let their opponents become the party of Industrial Revolution 2.0. Worst case, their obstruction hastens the end of a livable Earth. Here's Weir to Fox Nation after it produced a documentary on Al Gore and all of the wrong climate change apocalyptic predictions he's made over the years. Weather is not climate, you willfully ignorant fucksticks. This guy just oozes Murrow and Cronkite, doesn't he? Here's Weir to Senator Joe Manchin, Democrat of West Virginia, after he announced he would not support a climate tax provision pushed by his party on Capitol Hill. This is hung up on an old-fashioned filibuster, sort of recent made-up American rules where the fate of life on Earth is at stake and doesn't seem to match. There are dozens of other examples of just how hysterical this climate porn dealer with a microphone is, but we only have so much room in this chapter. Besides, you get the idea. This is a person CNN decided to head up its reportage of environmental issues. So are Democrats still the party for the little guy, the small business owner? Here's one big example why it isn't. Rudford's Restaurant, San Diego. The popular 24-hour diner has been in business since 1949. Remember, the restaurant business struggled enough during the lockdowns for months on end during the pandemic. Thousands of restaurants and eateries across the country did not even survive. But Democratic leaders, knowing most of the media will have their backs when it comes to shutting down pipelines, canceling offshore drilling, and banning fracking, all in the name of the climate crisis, simply do not care about the plight of restaurant owners, their employees, or their customers. Rudford's is owned by brothers Jeff and Nick Concha. In December 2022, its natural gas bill was $2,200. In January 2023, just the next month, it jumped to $8,200, a 400% surge. The electric bill, which was $2,000 before COVID, has now jumped to $5,000, or 250%. I think California leadership are trying to run us out of here, Jeff Concha told Fox and Friends First at the time. It's out of control. The costs are out of control. They're not exactly representing the people here in San Diego, I can tell you that, Nick Concha added. It just seems like they're throwing businesses under the bus. We bring in so much tax revenue and everything for the city of San Diego, and they're here like stabbing us in the back almost with all these costs. It's sad.